Welcome, everyone. Let's dive straight into an explainer that could quite literally save your business from a massive legal headache. Today, we're looking at a monumental shift in European Union regulations. It's a shift that's about to fundamentally change how businesses communicate their environmental impact. And listen, whether you're a massive corporation or a smaller B2B supplier, the rules of the game are changing, and the penalties for ignoring them, they're pretty severe.
So the clock is officially ticking toward a zero exceptions ban. Mark your calendars right now. September 27th, 2026. That's the day everything changes. From this date forward, companies selling to consumers across any EU member state can no longer call a product eco-friendly, green, or carbon neutral without verified proof. And I want to emphasize this absolutely crucial point. There are no exceptions. Oh, and if you were hoping for a grace period for packaging already sitting in your distribution chain, no way. If it's out there and it's non-compliant, it's a liability.
Here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll quickly cover the 2026 ban, then look at why B2B suppliers are caught up in this, 3 strictly banned practices, how to replace adjectives with numbers, and finally, your pre-September action plan.
All right, Section 1, the 2026 Green Claims Ban.
Let's get the timeline straight because this is not some distant, maybe someday risk. This is a present reality. The Directive, formerly known as the ECGT, actually entered into force back in March 2024. Member states have to transpose it into national law by March 2026, which means full enforcement hits in September 2026. Now, there's a common misconception floating around because a different, standalone proposal was withdrawn recently. Do not let that fool you. The ECGT remains fully adopted and binding. And here's the real kicker. It doesn't even create a brand new compliance framework. It just plugs greenwashing directly into existing consumer protection laws. That means enforcement authorities already have the power and the tools to strike the exact moment September 2026 arrives.
Moving on to Section 2, why B2B suppliers are getting caught in the crossfire. If you're a B2B supplier, your very first instinct is probably, hey, this targets consumer brands, not me, I'm safe. Well, actually, scratch that. The harsh reality is entirely different. Your large B2C customers desperately need your carbon numbers to legally back up their own claims. It creates this massive B2B domino effect. Think about it. A consumer goods company that calls its product low carbon absolutely relies on the numbers from its supply chain to prove it. Your carbon footprint figure literally becomes their compliance evidence. If you can't provide that data, they simply cannot make the claim.
And if you can't provide verifiable data, you suddenly become a huge liability in their supply chain. And the authorities, they are not playing around. The penalties for getting this wrong can reach up to 4% of annual turnover in the relevant member states, or up to €2 million for widespread infringements. They can even go as far as confiscating revenues from misleading transactions.
But wait, it actually gets worse. The crucial point here is the hidden cost. Even if you think regulatory fines are unlikely for you, the quieter, daily price lands right on your desk. Picture this. A customer running procurement due diligence finds just one inflated green claim. Suddenly, they're viewing every other answer you've ever provided with deep suspicion. You risk losing vital contracts. Plus, there's a totally overlooked threat. Your competitors can now sue you. The ECGT empowers interested parties to take legal action. So if you're using vague green language while a competitor actually invests in proper measurement, they hold a very real legal instrument against you under unfair competition law.
Okay, Section 3, the 3 outright banned practices.
Let's dive straight into the blacklist. These are practices that are entirely illegal under all circumstances. No context test required, just straight up banned. First, generic claims. Words like eco-friendly, natural, or climate-friendly are totally banned unless you have recognized, independently verified proof. Second, and this is a big one, claiming carbon neutral on products based purely on offsetting is entirely dead. You cannot just buy offsets to slap a carbon neutral label on your product anymore. And third, homemade private eco labels are illegal. Yeah, that cute little green leaf your marketing team designed in Photoshop last year, you can't use it anymore unless it comes from a public authority or is verified by an independent third party. And get this, it even targets your future goals. A lot of businesses assume saying something like, "We are committed to net zero by 2040 is a completely safe, forward-looking statement. Not anymore. Under the ECGT, stating a future goal without a verified, independent implementation plan attached is no longer inspirational. It's a massive legal liability. You either need the verified plan
or you need to revise your language to state a current demonstrated fact.
Section 4. Replacing adjectives with numbers.
So how do we actually fix this? Good news. You do not need a total, wildly expensive rebrand. You just need to swap out vague adjectives for specific, verifiable numbers. For example, instead of saying, "We are carbon neutral," you replace it with, "Our 2025 Scope 1 and 2 emissions totaled 170 tons CO2e." Instead of, "Our packaging is eco-friendly," you state exactly what makes it so. Our packaging contains 40% post-consumer recycled material. One honest number beats 10 impressive adjectives every single time.
Going forward, every claim that actually survives scrutiny is going to share this exact DNA. You need a specific number, a defined year, a clear boundary of exactly what is being measured, and a stated method of how you calculated it. Honestly, even an estimate is perfectly compliant, provided your stated method is clear. But a number without a method, well, that's really just a guess dressed up as a measurement, and it's going to land you right back in misleading claims territory.
Finally, Section 5. Your pre-September action plan.
Let's bring the heart rate back down a bit. We've talked about all the risks, so let's look at the solution. Here's exactly how you can prepare for this right now, this week, without dropping thousands on expensive consultants. Step 1. Pull your last 12 months of utility invoices for electricity and gas, and log your vehicle fuel. Step 2. Multiply those figures by the published national emission factors for your country, like the DSNZ in the UK or the RVO in the Netherlands. Step 3. Simply add your Scope 1 direct fuel emissions and Scope 2 electricity emissions together, label it clearly as an estimate, and cite your method and the year.
It is incredibly practical. Doing this simple calculation manually takes maybe 1 to 3 hours, depending on how organized your invoices are, and that one simple task generates the precise evidence you need to answer those looming buyer questionnaires and lock in your spot on preferred supplier lists.
All right, here is your immediate homework. I want you to open your website, your latest tender responses, and your supplier declarations today and run a search for these 6 highly dangerous words: green, eco-friendly, sustainable, carbon neutral, net zero, and climate positive. Every single time you find one of these words, you have a choice to make before September 2026. You either attach a specific figure and a recognized standard to prove it, replace the adjective with a verifiable fact, or just delete the word entirely.
The transition from marketing fluff to hard data is no longer optional. It's happening. So before that September 2026 deadline hits, you really have to ask yourself, are your marketing materials and B2B contracts built on impressive but ultimately dangerous adjectives? Or are they built on undeniable, compliant numbers? Take action now, protect your contracts, and turn this compliance hurdle into your ultimate competitive advantage.